Well, hello and welcome everyone to Enchanted Empath, the podcast for your soul. I'm Charlene Murphy, intuitive empath and soul coach, on a mission to help everybody realize their amazing inner brilliance so that they can heal their bodies, manifest anything, and create a life you totally love. So, welcome in. Please chime in, use the chat, whether you're on Facebook, YouTube. I think those are the only options. And later on Instagram. So chat now while we're live or chat later. And I would love to answer your questions or to hear your experiences about the topic. And so today's topic, I say this every week, is one of my favorites because it's about reading energy. Reading energy. And reading energy has just it's taken on a big meaning, a bigger than necessary meaning, in my opinion, because I really believe that reading energy is our primal way of communication. It's first and foremost. It's our natural ability. It's what is happening all the time. So much so that we take it for granted. So, I'm going to break this down for you and I'm going to show you how you already read energy, how you're doing it all the time. And then I'm going to show you the different levels of reading energy, why we read energy, and then how to read energy. So let's just go ahead and dive right in. And you are so welcome to chime in and have a conversation with me, okay? And I will do my very best to answer your questions. Hey, Danielle. Glad you're here. Okay, so let's talk about first that everything is energy, right? So if everything is energy and everybody is energy, then what is that energy? That energy is information. There's data. There's memory, there's past, present, future, there's stuff going on with everybody's energy. And so I look at energy as data. I look at it as info. And a lot of personality. So everybody's energy has a very unique personality that is palpable, right? And you guys already know this stuff. So what I'm here to do is to remind you of what you already know and maybe tap into it a little bit more and develop it and explore it and hopefully grow it so that you can leverage this information, because it really helps us live a life of grace and magic, and self-confidence and self-awareness. It's just a really fun way to live, right? So I already said that reading is our primal sense of communication and that we are energetically sniffing each other out all the time. So sometimes we forget that we're mammals, right? Just like all the other animals on the planet, we're mammals, or like all the other mammals. And we're sensory beings. And so we literally sniff each other out. We have pheromones going on. Just like how the dogs greet one another at the dog parks. And then there's the energetic energy and information that's also being transmitted that we receive and then we interpret so instantly and so intuitively that we don't even realize we're doing it. So how many times, for example, have you walked into a room and you're just like all happy and bubbly and you're just doing your thing and you walk into a room and it's like, whoa, you just hit a brick wall. It's like, oh, what the hell? And it's really heavy or stagnant or stuffed or something. And you sense it and you feel it, and it's like, it's visceral. You can feel it in your body. And I mean, what do we do with that? We can, when we know better, we can actually transmute it. I'll get to that in a little bit. But you have so many times met somebody or had a communication with somebody that you just intuitively knew was maybe off or not right or felt really good or there was a deeper connection instantly. That's you reading energy. That's you picking up bits of pieces of information from another person. And I really do believe that because it's our primal way of communication. Like, imagine before language came. Imagine before, it was a survival mechanism. We had to be able to read energy just so we can stay alive, right? And so that we could, I don't know, get out of precarious situations and or go towards the things that feel better. So we are these beautiful human instruments. We are highly sensitive, highly tuned beings. This is our nature, right? And if we can see that that is true for animals, which we all can see in our pets and our dogs especially, and our cats, our domesticated animals, we can see that they're super sensory and that they not only do the physical sniffing out of their friends, but they also can just sense things. It's like they get still, their hair gets bristly, they can sense something energetically in the air. They can know if they like somebody or not like somebody instantly, and they get, that's all reading energy. That's us or them being sensitive to the energetic information of the energy field around another person. We, my friends, are not much different. We are the same way. So we can also sense that energetic information, and we do sense it. How many times have you met somebody and the hair on the back of your neck stands up? Or you just feel like, oh my gosh, this is not a good situation. I got to leave, right? And if we listen to those messages more and better, more frequently, we would be better off. And so that's why I teach this stuff. I love this stuff. It's communication. It's not woo-woo. It's not scary. It's not evil. It's not in the dark arts. It's just communication on the energetic level. And I'm really happy to say that there are a lot of people in the science world, like Joe Dispenza, Bruce Lipton, who write about this stuff and teach about it, and then they use scientific tools to measure it and to show the results of things. So it's becoming more legitimized, and as we understand this relationship that we have with energy, and that we are energy and we're interacting with it all the time, it's measurable, it's readable, it's accessible, then we can just step more gracefully into who we really are and gather info. And I'll share why we need to do that in a minute. I'm sure you already have a few good reasons or guesses why. All right, so I want to talk next about, okay, so Danielle asks, let me see if I can see that without my glasses. Is that the gut feeling? Let's show that. Is that the gut feeling we have about someone, good or bad? That's exactly what it is. And I'm going to get into the hows in a little bit, but the gut feeling is a big, huge one. That's your intuition that's speaking to you. That's you receiving info, and then we translate it or we respond to it. If we catch it early enough, we just intuitively respond to it. The problem is that all of us are very intuitive, and what happens is, instead of acting on the impulse, a lot of times what we do is we translate it in our brain, and it gets lost in translation, right? So you hear like stories about women who have been abducted, not to be, dark, but more times than not, they will say, I knew I shouldn't have got into that car. I knew I shouldn't have gone with this person. But that polite little girl with her manners didn't want to hurt their feelings. And so she went against her initial feeling, her gut feeling, and went along. And then, this other stuff ensues. I'm just grateful that they're here to tell their stories, that they survived their situations, and then they can share and again legitimize that gut feeling and how important it is and how real and basic and primal it is. We don't have to study how to be psychics and how to be intuitives to access it. It's already here. Now we can study to enhance it and grow it, since our culture really doesn't support it so much, and we rely more on our rational minds than our intuitive gifts. So that's where people like me come in handy, so that we can help and coach you do this better and more on demand. And I'm going to show you some tricks today on how to do that more on demand. So keep asking those questions. That was a great one. Thank you. So let's talk about the levels of reading energy. So a lot of my colleagues, my intuition or psychic development colleagues, will always say that we need to ask permission. And I'm here to say, no, we don't, because because if you imagine your intuition or your ability to sense or read or receive energy from somebody, like listening to a conversation, you know, say you're on the bus and it's filled with people, and you're overhearing conversations and you're overhearing babies crying. Do you need to go up to them and say, may I please listen to your conversation? May I please listen to your baby cry? No, because the transmission, the loudness, the level of energy is obvious. So that's level number one, is obvious energy. And so we're walking into situations where the energy is very obvious. It's very readable. It's very receivable. And you'll see that I say reading energy a lot because I'm a visual and I love literature. I was an English teacher, and so cracking people open is like cracking a book open to me. It's like it's just full of information and energy. So some people will read, some people will just know, and some people will feel it, right? And I'm going to get into that in just a little bit more in detail. So that first level of reading energy is obvious. It's apparent. It's everywhere, and so you can't help but read it, especially when you're in danger. It's like, oh, thank God we have that ability to read energy and to act accordingly. And then the second level of reading that energy is more subtle, right? So that's like imagine yourself having a conversation with a loved one or even a coworker, and their lips are moving and you're hearing words come out of their mouths, but the energy just doesn't quite match what they're saying, and you feel it. Or you sense it, or you read it. There's something off. And you know that they're not maybe sharing the whole story, or that there's way more to it. And it just makes you go, And these are those times where we can go a little deeper if we wanted to. But those are those times that I think that we really need to pay attention. Because if, I say all the time that words can be untrue, but energy never lies. And so there can be people talking up a storm and trying to sell you on something. But if the energy is off, then that's when it's time to turn around and walk away, or shut it down, or change the conversation, or get to the truth, or whatever the goal is, depending on who that person is that you're feeling the disconnect or the out of alignment here situation going on. So do you see how that intuition really can serve us? It serves us in big ways. So I want to tell you a little story about when I started to explore this whole phenomenon of reading energy and realizing that everything is energy, and how come it's so easy for me to read it, right? I went back in time and I realized that my childhood had a lot to do with this, on a very practical matter. So I grew up in a really volatile house where, my dad was a raging alcoholic and just a scary guy. He was my favorite person because, I was daddy's girl sometimes, but I was scared to death of him at other times. It was just a very mixed bag. I never knew what I was going to get. So with my father, I had to walk on eggshells, right? And I remember every day after school, that was like my time, my good time, and I would do my homework and hang out. But then I would start to sense when my father was going to be coming home, and I would start to get really anxious, like, oh crap, who is he going to be today? How do I need to be when he gets here? Because he was just so unpredictable. Like if we didn't greet him at the door, he would say stuff like, what am I, chopped liver? Nobody cares about me. But then if you do greet him at the door, he's like, Jesus, can a person get a break for 5 minutes before they. So it was like, oh, you never knew. So I remember, and I wouldn't use these words when I was a kid, but it's exactly what I was doing. I was tuning into his energy to see how he was going to be before he walked in the door. So I knew how to be when he walked in the door. And I knew if I should approach or retreat. And so I got really good at reading my dad's energy. It was all out there. He was an open book, but I can read his energy when he wasn't even home. And that's how I just really come to the conclusion that this is really a survival mechanism. And the awareness of doing that didn't occur to me though until I was a lot older. So I was a slow learner, I guess, about that. But I'm really grateful that I was able to do it. And you know how it connected for me is when I lived in Long Beach, and I lived in a cute little apartment below a woman who had a cute little chihuahua named Olivia. And this dog, I kid you not, would start howling about 20 to 30 minutes before Barbara, her mom, got home. And it was just like clockwork. And I'd be, what is Olivia howling at? Why is Olivia howling? And she was like, oh, she was ready. She's ready for mom to come home from work, right? And so it started to realize that, oh, okay, Olivia howls, Barbara's going to be home. Olivia howls, Barbara's going to be home. So I started to see the pattern, and then I realized that, oh, that's exactly what I was doing when I was a kid in tapping into my father's energy before he got home, so I knew how to be. Olivia's was just that she loved and missed her mom so much. Mine was, oh, Jesus, how am I going to be when he gets here, So, I mean, if they can do it, why can't we? We're all mammals. It just makes perfect logical sense to me. So, that is level 2. So there's the obvious, and then there's the subtle, and then the third level that I've kind of crafted here on my own is that unknown or that hidden energy, that those question marks. It's like, what's going on here? And this is where we have to dig a little deeper, and we have to intentionally crack a person open or crack that energy open and look a little deeper. Now, this is where sometimes maybe it's, it's more appropriate to get permission, but I still say not. I still say you don't have to do that because we're all made of the same stuff. And so it just takes a little bit more focus and a little bit more ability to go into the unknown and to see what's around and to read that energy. And I'm going to share a few little tricks that I do to do that easier. But first I want to say why. Why would we need to do that? Are we just being nosy? Am I just being snoopy? Absolutely not. There's reasons for this. Hi, Kate. I see Kate here. One of those is that without divulging any names or information, but I get some of my clients who are interested in doing some online dating and they want me to go do some intel on people. Okay, so I do. And this is something that you can do as well, right? But we can go into a person's bubble, basically, is how I do it, and we can gather information and intel based on the energy that they're surrounded with or by. So it's not just to be nosy, it's to get to the bottom of things. It's to get to the truth of the matter, the heart of the matter, somebody's intentions, right? And so we can also gather that information, like I said earlier, and we can be a healing balm. We can change the energy. We can raise the vibration. If we like bump into an energy that is a little rough around the edges, we can smooth it out. We can stand in a place of healing and peace. We can just do some basic research And guess what? This has been going on for a long time. Even the military does this in remote viewing. You know, they have a science around it where they train their personnel how to focus their minds to on a target and then go and look around and gather information and visuals and what do they hear, and just it's a process of imagination, tapping in, slowing down, and receiving information. And this is something that we can all do, and like I said many times before, that we all do all the time, right? Now we can just do it with more intention and more goal and more focus. Okay, let's see if we have any questions. We're all good. So let's talk about the how. So how do we tap into that information? How do we crack that energy? How do we go in there? Well, two things that apply to everybody, and then three things that are particular to you. So the first two things, one is imagine that you can. Imagine that you always do. Imagine that you can, if you can do it unintentionally, then why couldn't you do it intentionally? Of course you can, right? So imagine that you can, and then say hello to your best resource, your greatest asset, your imagination. Open it up and know that this is going to be the portal to all things that you receive. Okay? So the imagination for me is everything. So first I imagine that I can, and then I play in there, and I'll show you what I mean in just a minute. And then the second thing to apply is to ask good questions. So if we want to do some research and we want to tap into a target or somebody's energy, we just ask good questions. Because here's what I know for sure. I know for sure that we live in a responsive universe. And we're all a part of that universe. And so everybody's energy is also responsive or readable, right? We can read or go in and gather. So ask good questions, and that will direct your energy to the target and eliminate a lot of excess noise, right? So that's a big part of this whole process, to be able to narrow your focus and go zoom and go into your target. So those are the two that everybody has and that can utilize, but needs to utilize in order to do this reading energy intentionally. But then there are three specific kinds of ways that we are wired to receive it, and everybody's a little different. So I'm going to talk about the top three. So this has to do with our senses. All of us receive information via our senses, and our meta senses, our senses above our physical senses. What I mean by that. Let's talk about what they are, and then that will become more clear. So the first one is utilizing your third eye. So this is your pineal gland. This is your ability to see between the lines, to read energy, literally, to go in and tap in. So some people are really strong in this place. They're really strong at being able to just go right in there to their target, and they're visualizing the outcome. They're visualizing, they get pictures of information. Excuse me, I get a lot of cartoons. That's when I know that it's like Captain Obvious is trying to be, giving me a strong signal about something. And the third eye can also be very, what's the word? Kind of sterile, right? So it's like just the facts. It just goes straight to the facts. So accessing your third eye is really good when you want to do that remote viewing, when you want to just go in and get data, information, just the facts. And one of the exercises I learned a long time ago, when I first started studying this more in depth, is called being a fly on the wall. And this is from um, the Wall Street psychic Laura Day. She created this, and it's in one of her books. But it's just like if you want to go and go spy on your competition. I don't recommend that, but whatever. Or you want to go and see what your child is up to, or you want to anything, fill in the blanks. Imagine that you're a fly on the wall. So you imagine that you're in their room, you imagine that you're at their conference table, you imagine wherever you want to be, and then just pretend that you know what the conversation is that they're having. And as you're pretending that and you're imagining that you can do this, you are drawing in information and data. And so this is the stuff that I just trust. I trust and I know that it's real. I know that it is more palpable and something more natural to us than not. And so I'll just go in there and I'll play. And after years of doing this and getting validation from my clients that that's correct and you're absolutely spot on, then it just gave me more and more and more confidence and to trust that information that I got. Because sometimes, especially when you're first starting out, it does feel like you might be making it up. That's why we need to practice and test it and have it validated and all of that so that we can really see the simplicity of it and how easy it really is and how truthful it really is. So one of the ways that you can test yours or practice is on my website. I have a whole bunch of psychic games that are on my blog, and I have a link in the description in YouTube, and I'll put them on Facebook and my blog later. But they're just pictures of people, places, and things. Just pictures where I instruct you to just, there's your target, hone in, pretend you're at their house, be a fly on their wall. What do you see? What do you smell? What do you feel? All of this stuff so we can gather even more detailed information. When you're wanting to date somebody online, good question to ask. What is their intention? What do they want? Who are they? Are they being honest? Is that really them? All of that. So this stuff really comes in handy that we can apply it to everyday practical uses, right? It's not just for entertainment, and it's not just to be nosy. They're very practical applications here. Okay. So I talked about the third eye. And that is your energy center that is extremely connected to your imagination, your vision, your dreaming, all of that. And if you want more information about third eye chakra, I have a lot of information about all of the chakras, or the main 7, on my website as well. Read up on that. It's interesting. And then the second one is the heart chakra. So the information can come through the third eye, the crown, the heart. Probably many others, but those are the 3 that I'm focusing on today. The heart chakra, those are the empaths. So those are the people who feel everything. And so I can access both and all. And when you get practiced and you're just trained in this stuff, it's interesting because sometimes when you're going into reading some energy and I can feel things I don't want to feel, I'll just click it up there and I'll get more analytical and I'll shift the focus to my third eye so I can just grab the info, grab the data, because I don't want to, like, for instance, cry in a session. But most of the time, my first response is feeling, just like Danielle. So the gut feeling, but that it's actually the empathic information coming through the body, and then it translates into different places. It's like, so feeling in the gut, that anxiety, the nervousness, all of the anticipation, the excitement, that's all empathic, heart recepting information. That's how you receive it, right? So that's why I'm always telling people, it's like, you want to know something, put your hand on your heart and say, if my heart knew, it would say, And because it does know, because it is, just this receptor for energy, from other people, places, and things. And so when we realize that about ourselves, it just becomes more and more easy for us to tune in, tap in, ask those questions, get the info, and get on with our day, right? So that's the heart chakra and feeling it in your body. And then the crown chakra that I mentioned earlier, that's the energy center at the top of your head, and that's your connection to energy. It's just that's when you just know. It's like, I don't know how I know, I just know. How many times have you had that experience happen? And see how you probably do all three, right? But there's probably one that's going to be more strong or more dominant than the others. But how many times have you just said to yourself, wow, I knew that. I knew that was going to happen. Or I knew that before you said anything. Or that somebody's about to say something and you knew they were going to say that. Or, you just knew. Explain that. Well, that's what I'm doing. I'm explaining it. It's like energy is always telling on itself. Everybody's telling on itself. There's stories being told all the time, all around us. And so sometimes it just hits us, boom, 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 and that's the stuff that's happening to most people all the time. And then other times we have to dig a little deeper and get more of the story and get more details, right? So I'm just saying we can if we want to. And so I also want to invite you to take a quiz that I have on my website. It's called What's Your Intuitive Gift? And once you take this little quiz, it's a short, like 16 question quiz that'll give you a good baseline for how you get your info. Like, are you more third eye, which is, I forget the name, the visual, the clairvoyant, there we go. Or are you more claircognizant, which is the crown chakra, where you just know stuff? Or are you more clairsentient or empathic, where you get your information through your body and you sense it and you feel it? Again, our bodies, our human little vessels, are amazing tools, and they are just highly sensitive receiving utensils. It's pretty amazing when you think of it that way. All right. So I did invite you to take the quiz to find out your gift. And then I want you to just explore and play those psychic games on my blog and just get your journal out. Write down the impressions that you get, have some fun with this. And then even just sit in contemplation and think about all those times that you knew stuff, or that you knew when somebody was telling you something, there was more to the story. How did you know that? Because there's energy around everybody, and there's a lot of info out there and available to us. So anyway, I think that's all I want to share today. Anybody have any questions that they would like to explore further? I know there's a lot of info here, and there's a lot of guidance on my website that you are so welcome to go play in and dig around the chakras, the clairs. But I guess why I'm kind of just sharing at a basic level is because I really want you to know how amazingly intuitive or psychic that you are, and that you always have been, and you always will be, if you allow it, when you allow it. It's already here. It's already here. We were all born this way. The question is, are you aware of it? And if you are aware of it, are you developing it? Are you playing with it? Are you seeing how it can serve you? Are you seeing how it can keep you safe? Are you seeing how it can keep you in a more honest place? Are you seeing how it can serve, especially moms? We do this all the time with our kids. We know when they're lying. How do we know? Because the energy and the stuff coming out of their mouths don't match, right? And so we feel safer expressing that or knowing that truth when it comes to our kids. But that truth applies to everybody. So if you can do that with your children, you can do that with anybody and everybody. I just want to empower you with that, and knowing that you are a highly tuned instrument to receive information and to read energy, and to automatically read energy, and then read energy on purpose or with intention to gather info and intel. That's when it just gets fun. That's what I do in my work all day long. And so the more you do it, the better you get. It gets easier and easier. And then all of that woo-woo stuff just gets so demystified and thrown out. And so when I'm hearing other people teaching this stuff in that more metaphysical woo-woo way, it makes me so grateful for the scientists who are here now to validate all this stuff in a more logical, sequential, measurable way. I love it. I love it. I feel so validated. Thanks, Joe Dispenza. Thanks, Bruce Lipton. Thanks, you guys. First, I was mad at you guys because it's like, oh, as soon as the guy comes in, now everybody listens. But I'm happy now. I'm happy now because the more people who understand this and leverage it, the more healed we are, the more complete we are, the more we're able to manifest the life of our dreams. You know, it just cuts through so much stuff that is like unnecessary blockages. But anyway, those are topics for other times. Want to just say thank you for being here. You can find me here every Thursday at 12. Today is Friday, though. I had to shift my schedule. But I will see you back here next Thursday. Feel free to ask those questions, chime in, let me know who you are, and I will get back to each and every one of you. All right. Thanks for being here again. Have a great weekend. Take excellent care of yourself and each other. All right. Until next time, take care.